Merkabah Mysticism, the Chariot of Glory and Comparative Practices of Mystical Ascent in World Traditions. Welcome to Inner Light, Esoteric Wisdom for the Soul's Ascent, a contemplative space devoted to unveiling the hidden teachings that have inspired mystics, seekers, and sages across the ages. Here, we journey beyond the surface of things, delving into the profound currents of spiritual tradition and inner transformation. Merkabah Mysticism, the Chariot of Glory and Comparative Practices of Mystical Ascent in World Traditions. Across all ages and cultures, human beings have asked, what lies beyond the visible world? What is the source of consciousness, the ground of being, the secret at the heart of reality? The quest for the divine, for ultimate meaning, has inspired mystics, seekers, and sages from every civilization. Sometimes this quest takes the form of philosophy or theology, but more often it is expressed as a journey, an ascent, a movement from the familiar into the unknown, from the earth to the heavens. Among the most vivid and enduring images of this ascent is the chariot, a vehicle of transformation, a symbol of movement between worlds. In the Jewish tradition, this image is given its most powerful expression in the literature of Merkabah Mysticism, the mysticism of the chariot, rooted in the visionary experience of the prophet Ezekiel. Here, the chariot is not merely a metaphor, but a living reality, a structure of the cosmos, a path for the soul, a throne for the divine glory. Yet the longing embodied in the chariot vision is not unique to Judaism. In Christianity, saints and visionaries have described raptures and ascents to the heavenly throne. In Islam, the Prophet Muhammad's night journey, Miraj, is a supreme example of celestial ascent. In Platonic, Hermetic, Hindu, Buddhist, and indigenous traditions, we find similar stories: ladders to the sky, trees of life, mountains of revelation, and journeys to the highest realms. What unites these diverse traditions is the conviction that the human soul is not confined to this world, that through discipline, devotion, and grace, it can ascend to the source of being, encounter the sacred, and return transformed. The methods, symbols, and languages may differ, but the deep structure of the journey, the longing, the peril, the ecstasy, and the return is remarkably constant. This lecture, Merkabah Mysticism, the Chariot of Glory and Comparative Practices of Mystical Ascent, invites you into a meditation on these mysteries. We will begin with the Jewish chariot mystics, trace their legacy into Kabbalah, and then journey outward, exploring how the same longing has shaped Christian, Islamic, and other spiritual paths. By the end, we hope not only to illuminate the history of ascent, but to offer guidance for your own inner journey, wherever you may find yourself on the path. Foundations of Merkabah Mysticism. The foundation of Merkabah mysticism lies in a single, extraordinary passage of the Hebrew Bible, the opening chapter of the book of Ezekiel. Set against the backdrop of the Babylonian exile in the 6th century BCE, Ezekiel's vision is both utterly vivid and deeply enigmatic. It unfolds on the banks of the River Chebar, far from the lost temple in Jerusalem. At a time of national despair and spiritual yearning, Ezekiel writes, "As I looked, behold, a stormy wind came out of the north, and a great cloud with brightness round about it, and fire flashing forth continually, and in the midst of the fire as it were gleaming metal, and from the midst of it came the likeness of 4 living creatures. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, but each had 4 faces, and each of them had 4 wings. As for the likeness of their faces, each had the face of a man. The 4 had the face of a lion on the right side, the 4 had the face of an ox on the left side, and the 4 had the face of an eagle. Now as I looked at the living creatures, I saw a wheel upon the earth beside the living creatures, their appearance and construction being as it were a wheel within a wheel. And above the firmament that was over their heads there was the likeness of a throne, in appearance like sapphire. and seated above the likeness of a throne was a likeness with a human appearance. Such was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. Ezekiel 1:4-28 adapted. This vision with its storm, fire, radiant creatures, wheels within wheels, and the dazzling throne is at once overwhelming and elusive. Everything is like, or as if, always at the threshold of language. The prophet beholds, but can only stammer out analogies and metaphors. He falls upon his face, overawed by the presence of the divine. Ezekiel's vision did not remain an isolated experience. Over the centuries, it became the seed of a vast and intricate tradition within Jewish spirituality. During the Second Temple period, and especially after the temple's destruction in 70 CE, Jewish mystics began to return again and again to Ezekiel's account, seeking to unlock its mysteries and, above all, to emulate its ascent. By the first centuries of the Common Era, a literature had grown up around the theme of the chariot, Merkaba, and the palaces, Hekhalot. These texts, including the Hekhalot Rabbati, Hekhalot Zutarti, Maaseh Merkava, and later 3 Enoch, describe visionary journeys through the heavenly realms. The mystic, or descender to the chariot, Yored ha-Merkaba, would ascend through a series of celestial palaces, encountering angelic guardians, reciting secret names, and ultimately seeking to behold the throne of glory. The tradition was always accompanied by warnings. This path was perilous, reserved for the worthy, not to be undertaken lightly. Yet the longing for direct encounter with the divine was too strong to be denied. The Merkabah mystics preserved, developed, and passed down their teachings in secret, forming the earliest roots of what would later blossom into Kabbalah. The Merkabah vision is built from a set of recurring, potent symbols, each layered with meaning. The 4 living creatures, man, lion, ox, and eagle, embody intelligence, courage, strength, and vision. In later tradition, they are linked with the 4 directions, the 4 elements, and the 4 banners of Israel's tribes. The wheels within wheels, known as the Ophanim, are not mere mechanisms, but symbols of omniscience, infinite movement, and the interconnectedness of all things. Each wheel is full of eyes, signifying vigilance and awareness. The throne of sapphire is the seat of the divine presence, radiant and transcendent. The throne represents not only authority, but also the meeting point of heaven and earth, the axis mundi of the mystical cosmos. Fire, light, and storm are elements that express the awe and danger of divine encounter. Fire purifies but also destroys. Light reveals but blinds. The storm is the disruption of ordinary reality by the presence of the holy. The ascent is both outward, through cosmic realms, and inward, through the chambers of the soul. The journey is marked by discipline, humility, and the ever-present risk of being overwhelmed by the glory. The Merkabah's symbols are not static images, but living realities to be entered, explored, and ultimately embodied. The chariot is a map both of the cosmos and of the soul. To ascend the chariot is to traverse the boundaries between worlds, to move from the mundane towards the sacred, to become transparent to the divine. The mystics of this tradition understood that true ascent requires preparation, fasting, ritual purity, mastery of sacred texts, and a heart purified by humility and love. The journey is not for the curious or the arrogant. It is for those who seek communion with the infinite, not for their own sake, but for the sake of truth, service, and transformation. Merkabah mysticism is the fountainhead of later Jewish esotericism. Its images, practices, and cautions are preserved in the Kabbalistic tree of life, in Hasidic teachings on devekut, cleaving to God, and in the ongoing search for direct experience of the divine. But as we shall see, the yearning for ascent, for the vision of the throne, is not unique to Judaism. It rises wherever human beings seek the holy. The path of ascent in Merkabah mysticism, the Merkaba ascent is not merely a matter of ecstatic vision or speculative thought. It is a path of rigorous discipline, ritual, and profound ethical preparation. The aspirant's journey begins long before any mystical experience, in the everyday acts of purification and devotion. The Merkaba literature is unambiguous. Only those who have prepared themselves fully, body, mind, and spirit, may hope to approach the celestial realms in safety. The mystic embarks upon periods of fasting, sometimes for days at a time, abstaining not only from food but from bodily pleasures, distractions, and unnecessary speech. Fasting is seen not simply as self-denial, but as a method of refining the senses, quieting the passions, and opening the inner faculties to spiritual perception. Ritual immersion in a mikveh, or sacred bath, cleanses the body and symbolizes the washing away of spiritual impurities. Every action is imbued with intention. The act of bathing becomes a meditation on the soul's readiness to receive divine light. The aspirant devotes hours to prayer, both set liturgies and spontaneous supplication. Psalms are recited, sometimes in special sequences, and sacred names are whispered or sung. Central, too, is the study of Torah and the esoteric texts themselves. The Merkabah mystic does not cast aside the rational mind, but disciplines it. Study and contemplation are seen as forms of ascent parallel to ecstatic vision. Perhaps most important is the cultivation of ethical purity. The mystic is enjoined to be humble, honest, generous, and just. The tradition insists that without a foundation of righteous action and pure motive, the ascent is not only impossible, but dangerous. As the Hekhalot Rabbati admonishes, "He who is not worthy, let him not enter." Having prepared himself, the mystic embarks upon the ascent through the palaces of heaven. In Merkabah tradition, the cosmos is imagined as a series of concentric realms or palaces, Hekhalot, each guarded by powerful angels and filled with dazzling light, fire, and song. While the number and names of the palaces vary among texts, the standard model describes 7 heavens, each a stage between the earthly and the divine. Passage from one to the next is not automatic. At each gate, the aspirant must give the correct password, recite the proper angelic names, and demonstrate the worthiness of his intention. Each palace is guarded by angels of awe-inspiring majesty. Among the most famous is Metatron, the Prince of the Presence, sometimes identified with the patriarch Enoch transformed into an angel. Others, like Caspiel and Anaphil, stand as gatekeepers and testers of the soul. The relationship with these beings is complex. They are both protectors and challengers, their role to ensure that only the prepared may proceed. The texts are filled with detailed instructions on the use of seals, divine names, incantations, and ritual gestures. The mystic must not only know the words, but embody the intention behind them. A single mistake, a mispronunciation, or an impure thought can result in the aspirant being turned back, or worse, harmed by the overwhelming power of the guardians. At the threshold of the 7th and innermost palace, the aspirant faces the most severe tests. Here, in the presence of the throne, the soul is stripped of all pretense and pride. The literature describes overwhelming trembling, awe, and sometimes the sense of annihilation. Only the one who enters in peace and departs in peace, epitomized by Rabbi Akiva, emerges whole. The climax of the ascent is the vision of the throne, the Merkaba itself, radiant with the glory of the Lord. The mystic beholds the living creatures, the wheels within wheels, the fire and storm, and above all, the likeness as the appearance of a man, the kavod, or divine majesty. This vision is not a matter of passive observation, but of total transformation. The self is both shattered and remade. The fire of the throne purifies, burns away the dross of ego, and leaves only the essential, luminous core of the soul. The experience is described as both terrifying and ecstatic. Some mystics report hearing the songs of the angels, joining in their eternal "Holy, Holy, Holy," and glimpsing secrets that cannot be spoken. The vision is always partial, like, as if, and always followed by a return to ordinary consciousness. The true test of the ascent is not the vision itself, but the return. The mystic is expected to re-enter the world transformed, more humble, more compassionate, more attuned to the divine presence in all things. The vision is not for private ecstasy, but for service to the community. The Merkabah texts are replete with warnings. The dangers of the path are real. Madness, death, heresy, and spiritual pride all await the unprepared. The Talmudic story of the four who entered the Pardes, only one of whom, Rabbi Akiva, entered in peace and departed in peace, serves as a perpetual caution. For this reason, the ascent is never a solitary or purely individualistic enterprise. The tradition insists on the guidance of a teacher, the support of a community, and the ongoing disciplines of prayer, study, and ethical action. Even within Judaism, the Merkaba ascent echoes older models: the ascent of Moses upon Sinai, Elijah's fiery chariot, and the visions of Isaiah and Daniel. The theme is always the same: the soul's longing for direct encounter with the divine, the perils of the journey, and the transformative power of the vision. Comparative mysticism. Ascent in Christianity. The centrality of ascent in the Merkaba tradition finds striking resonance in Christianity. From its earliest days, Christian spirituality has been marked by a longing to ascend towards the divine, towards the heavenly homeland, towards union with God. This yearning expresses itself in scripture, in monastic practice, in mystical theology, and in the visionary experiences of saints. The chariot, ladder, and mountain are among the many images Christians have used to describe the soul's journey upward and the process of transformation that it entails. One of the earliest Christian accounts of mystical ascent appears in the writings of the Apostle Paul. In 2 Corinthians, Paul recounts, modestly in the third person, an experience of being caught up to the third heaven. He describes not knowing whether it was in the body or out of the body, but recounts being caught up into paradise and hearing things that cannot be told, which man may not utter. This account bears a remarkable similarity to Merkaba experiences: the ascent through heavenly spheres, the ineffability of the vision, and the simultaneous ecstasy and humility. Like the Jewish mystic, Paul insists that the experience is not for personal boasting, but for the glory of God and the service of the community. The final book of the New Testament, the Revelation to John, is saturated with Merkaba imagery. John is invited to come up here and is shown a heavenly throne surrounded by living creatures with faces reminiscent of Ezekiel's vision: lion, ox, man, and eagle. The throne is encircled by angelic choirs, blazing lamps, and a sea of glass, echoing not only the vision of Ezekiel, but also the later Hekhalot literature. The Gospels recount the transfiguration of Jesus, where Christ is seen in dazzling glory, flanked by Moses and Elijah, themselves figures of ascent, as a voice from the cloud declares his divine sonship. The mountain becomes an axis mundi, a place of revelation and transformation, much like the palaces of the Merkaba. In the 6th century, St. John Climacus composed the Ladder of Divine Ascent, a spiritual manual for monks at St. Catherine's Monastery on Mount Sinai. Drawing on both biblical and Platonic sources, John describes the spiritual life as a ladder with 30 rungs, each representing a virtue or stage of renunciation. The monk ascends from the base passions towards the summit of love, where he is united with God. The ladder, like the chariot, is both an inward and upward journey. It is ascended step by step, with each virtue building upon the last. The ascent is marked by struggle, temptation, and the ever-present danger of pride or despair. The destination, however, is the vision of God, the light of Tabor, the uncreated light seen by the saints. In medieval England, the anonymous author of The Cloud of Unknowing described a path to God through the renunciation of all images and concepts. The soul must smite upon that thick cloud of unknowing with a sharp dart of longing love, ascending not by knowledge, but by surrender into mystery. This apophatic via negativa approach echoes the Merkaba's insistence on the limits of language, the need for humility, and the ultimate ineffability of the divine. Throughout Christian history, mystics have described ascents to the heavenly realms, guided by angels, saints, or Christ himself. The journeys of Dante in the Divine Comedy, the revelations of Saint Hildegard of Bingen, the ecstasies of Saint Teresa of Avila and Saint John of the Cross, and the raptures of Eastern Orthodox hesychasts all attest to the enduring power of the ascent motif. Dante's ascent through the spheres of heaven, guided by Beatrice, is a Christian recasting of the Merkaba journey. The poet passes through planetary heavens, encounters angelic choirs, and finally beholds the love that moves the sun and the other stars. In the Eastern Orthodox tradition, the practice of hesychasm, inner stillness, is directed towards the vision of the uncreated light, the same light that shone at the Transfiguration. Through prayer, fasting, and ascetic struggle, the monk seeks to ascend inwardly, to become a living chariot for the divine presence. While the Christian tradition draws freely on the imagery of ascent, it also introduces distinct emphases. The journey is always Christocentric. The ascent is made possible through union with Christ, and the ultimate goal is not only vision, but participation in the divine life. The cross becomes both ladder and chariot. The descent into humility is the precondition for ascent to glory. Ethically, the ascent is inseparable from love, agape. The mystical vision is not sought for its own sake, but as a means of greater self-giving, humility, and service. The dangers of pride, delusion, and spiritual greed are as prominent here as in Merkaba texts. The chariot and the ladder are in many ways twin symbols of ascent, one dynamic, mobile, and fiery. The other steady, structured, and incremental. Both express the longing to move from earth to heaven, from the particular to the universal, from the finite to the infinite. Both traditions, Jewish and Christian, insist that the ascent is impossible without preparation, discipline, and grace. Both warn of the dangers of presumption and pride. Both culminate in vision, ecstasy, and the imperative to return to the world transformed. Let us pause to meditate on the Christian path of ascent. Imagine the ladder of virtues, the mountain of transfiguration, the chariot of light. See the saints and mystics ascending step by step, sometimes stumbling, always sustained by love. Ask yourself, what is the ladder I'm called to climb? What virtues must I cultivate? What light beckons me onward? And how, when I descend once more, can I bring the fruits of vision into the world? Ascent in Islam, the Miraj and Sufi mysticism within Islam, the theme of mystical ascent finds one of its most vivid and foundational expressions in the story of the Prophet Muhammad's night journey and ascension, known respectively as the Isra and the Miraj. This event, celebrated annually in the Islamic calendar and referenced in the Quran and Hadith, stands as a central narrative of spiritual ascent, vision, and transformation. According to tradition, the Prophet Muhammad was taken by night from the sacred mosque in Mecca to the farthest mosque in Jerusalem. From there he was raised through the seven heavens, meeting prophets and angels, until he stood in the presence of Allah, beyond even the archangel Gabriel. Here he received, among other things, the command for the 5 daily prayers, which became a cornerstone of Islamic practice. The Quran alludes to this journey, stating, "Glory be to him who carried his servant by night from the sacred mosque to the farthest mosque, whose precincts we have blessed to show him of our signs. Surely he is the all-hearing, the all-seeing." Though the Quran is characteristically restrained in its description, the Hadith and later mystical literature expand upon the event. The Prophet is said to have ascended through the 7 heavens, encountering Adam, Jesus, Joseph, Idris, Enoch, Aaron, Moses, and Abraham. each residing in a different celestial level. The journey culminates at the Lote tree of the utmost boundary, a cosmic threshold beyond which none but God may pass. The Miraj shares striking similarities with the Merkaba tradition. Both narratives describe ascent through a series of heavenly realms, each populated by angelic beings and guarded by spiritual tests. Both traditions recount encounters with prophets and angels who instruct, test, and bless the visionary. The vision of the throne is the climax in both, symbolizing the approach to the divine presence. In certain hadith, the prophet is described as beholding the greatest signs of his Lord, a vision that is both overwhelming and transformative. The role of ritual is central in both traditions, linking mystical ascent with communal worship. If the Miraj is the archetype of ascent in the life of the prophet, Sufism, the mystical tradition within Islam, elaborates and universalizes this journey as a path open to all sincere seekers. The Sufi way is, at its heart, a continuous ascent, from the world of multiplicity to the unity of the divine, from the self to the beloved. Classical Sufi manuals describe the path as a series of stations and states through which the seeker must pass. Beginning with repentance and purification, the traveler ascends through love, trust, contentment, and annihilation in God. The number 7 recurs, echoing both the 7 heavens of the Miraj and the 7 palaces of the Merkaba. The Sufi path is not solitary. The seeker is guided by a spiritual master and may encounter inward obstacles, ego, desires, and doubts that function as guardians of the threshold. The Quran and Hadith are recited, meditated upon, and woven into the fabric of daily life. Just as the Merkabah mystic relies on scriptural and liturgical discipline, Sufi poetry and prose are replete with references to angels, light, and the throne. The light of God is the ultimate goal. The journey is a movement from darkness to illumination. Jalaluddin Rumi writes, "If you wish to rise above the clouds, prepare yourself for the lightning and thunder. The path to the throne is through the fire." Sufi authors often treat the Miraj not only as a historical event, but as a metaphor for the soul's own ascent. Just as Muhammad journeyed from Mecca to Jerusalem and then through the heavens, so too must the seeker pass from the outer world to the heart, and from the heart to the divine presence. While the resonances between Merkaba and Islamic ascent are profound, some distinctions are equally significant. The Merkaba journey is often solitary, reserved for a spiritual elite, and shrouded in secrecy. The Miraj, by contrast, is both a unique event in the Prophet's life and a model for all believers, commemorated in public ritual and collective memory. Sufism especially places extraordinary emphasis on love as the motive force of ascent. Rumi, Ibn Arabi, and others transform the journey into a poetry of longing and union, echoing but also surpassing the more austere language of Merkaba texts. The Miraj does not abolish religious law, it deepens it, and the ascent is both a mystical event and the foundation for the daily rhythm of prayer, rooting the ineffable in the concrete. The chariot of Ezekiel and the celestial steed, Burak, of Muhammad's ascent are both vehicles of transformation. Each symbolizes the possibility of journeying beyond the confines of the material world, of passing through stages of purification, and of standing in the presence of the divine. Both traditions insist that the vision is not for private exaltation, but for communal renewal. Let us pause to contemplate the path of ascent in Islam. Imagine the night sky over the ancient city. A solitary figure is summoned, carried by light and longing through realms of wonder and awe. Angels greet him, prophets instruct him. The journey climaxes in the presence of the One. In your own seeking, what realms are you called to ascend? What guides and obstacles await? What light beckons you through the darkness? And when you return from the heights, how will you bring the blessing into the world? The chariot and the steed, the throne and the heart, the fire and the song, all reveal the universal longing for ascent, union, and return. mystical ascent. In other traditions, the motif of ascent is deeply embedded in many other spiritual and philosophical traditions. In the Western philosophical tradition, particularly in the works of Plato and the Neoplatonists, the soul's journey is often depicted as an ascent. Plato's allegory of the cave in the Republic describes the soul's movement from ignorance to enlightenment, from shadow to reality, as an ascent from the cave of illusion to the light of the sun. In the Phaedrus, the soul is depicted as a charioteer, guiding two horses, one noble, one unruly, towards the heights of divine contemplation. Plotinus, a Neoplatonist philosopher, elaborates this metaphor in his Enneads, describing the soul's return to the One, the transcendent source of all being, through stages of purification, cultivation of intellect, and mystical union. The Platonic chariot, with its struggle between higher and lower impulses, mirrors the Merkabah's themes of discipline, purification, and vision. The Hermetic tradition, flourishing in Hellenistic Egypt and influential on later Western esotericism, presents another model of ascent. Texts such as the Poemandres and the Corpus Hermeticum describe the soul's journey through the planetary spheres after death, shedding the influences of each sphere and regaining its original divine nature. The Hermetic ascent is both a post-mortem journey and a mystical practice available to the initiate in this life. Through knowledge, ritual, and ethical living, the adept seeks to awaken the divine spark within, ascend through the spheres, and unite with the ineffable source. Hermetic and Gnostic cosmologies often describe the ascent in terms of secret knowledge, passwords, and seals, which are direct parallels to the Merkabah's incantatory and ritual disciplines. In Hindu spirituality, the concept of ascent is central to many yogic and tantric paths. The human body is envisaged as a microcosm of the universe, mapped by subtle channels and energy centers. Kundalini Yoga teaches that a dormant spiritual energy lies coiled at the base of the spine. Through disciplined practice, postures, breath control, meditation, and mantra, this energy is awakened and rises through the chakras, purifying and transforming the practitioner. The ascent culminates at the crown chakra, symbolized by a lotus, where union with the Absolute is experienced as profound bliss and illumination. The yogi, like the Merkabah mystic, must pass through blocks and tests, physical, emotional, and psychic, and the guidance of a guru is considered essential. In Buddhism, particularly within Vajrayana, Tibetan Buddhism, the ascent is mapped as a journey through subtle realms of consciousness and being. Tantric practices employ the mandala, a sacred diagram or palace, as a tool for meditation and visualization. The practitioner enters the mandala, progressing through concentric realms towards the center, where the presiding Buddha or deity resides. Each stage represents a purification of obscurations and a realization of innate wisdom. Advanced meditators are said to attain the rainbow body, dissolving their physical form into pure light and ascending to a transpersonal realm of bliss and knowledge. The Bodhisattva's vow to return from the heights until all beings are liberated ensures that Buddhist ascent is always paired with compassionate descent. Early Gnostic texts, such as those found at Nag Hammadi, offer elaborate narratives of the soul's descent into the material world and its arduous ascent back to the fullness of the divine. The journey is obstructed by hostile archons and requires the acquisition of secret knowledge, passwords, and the assistance of heavenly messengers. The Hymn of the Pearl, a classic Gnostic parable, depicts the soul as a prince exiled in Egypt, who must remember his royal origin, overcome the enchantments of the world, and return to his father's kingdom. A clear analogy to the journey described in Merkaba, Platonic and Hermetic ascent. Across indigenous cultures, shamanic practitioners undertake visionary journeys to the upper and lower worlds, often facilitated by drumming, chanting, fasting, or entheogenic plants. The axis mundi, whether a world tree, mountain, or pillar, serves as the pathway between realms. The shaman is guided by spirit allies, encounters guardians and gatekeepers, and undergoes trials of death and rebirth. The goal is healing, wisdom, and the retrieval of lost souls or knowledge for the benefit of the community. Despite vast cultural differences, these journeys echo the structure of the Merkaba ascent: preparation, purification, ascent through levels or realms, encounters with powerful beings, vision or union, and return with gifts for the world. What unites these myriad traditions is the recognition that reality comprises visible and invisible realms, and that the soul, through discipline, guidance, and grace, can journey between them. The vehicles may differ: chariot, ladder, steed, lotus, rainbow, or world tree. The guides may appear as angels, saints, bodhisattvas, gurus, or animal spirits. The dangers are real, the tests severe, the vision overwhelming, the return essential. Each tradition preserves its own distinctive voice, interpreting ascent through the lens of local theology, cosmology, and spiritual purpose. For some, the aim is union with the One. For others, the realization of Buddha nature. For still others, the healing of the people or the world. Let us pause to contemplate the countless seekers across history and culture: philosophers, yogis, monks, shamans, mystics, each ascending their own path, each guided by their own symbols, each returning transformed. Ask yourself, what is the common longing that animates them all? What is the unique gift of your own tradition or journey? How might the wisdom of the many chariots, ladders, and trees enrich our shared quest for wholeness? Symbolism and structure, universal patterns across the world's mystical traditions. The journey of ascent is mapped not only in narrative, but in symbol and structure. These architectures serve as guides for the inner and outer path, offering both a blueprint for the soul and a cosmology for the universe. Whether in the form of a chariot, ladder, mountain, tree, or palace, these images encode profound psychological, spiritual, and philosophical truths about the nature of reality and the soul's capacity for transformation. The ladder is perhaps the most universal image of ascent, appearing in traditions as diverse as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Jacob's ladder appears in the book of Genesis, where Jacob dreams of a ladder set upon the earth, its top reaching to heaven, with angels ascending and descending. The vision is both personal and cosmic, symbolizing the possibility of communication between worlds and the soul's journey towards God. In Christianity, the ladder of divine ascent, as described by St. John Climacus, becomes a manual for spiritual growth, each rung representing a virtue or trial on the way to theosis. In the Islamic Sufi tradition, the ladder of spiritual stations guides the seeker through stages of purification and remembrance. The ladder is incremental, patient, and demanding. It invites the climber to humility, perseverance, and faith. The chariot, as in Merkabah Mysticism, is a vehicle that is swift, fiery, and transformative. It is both a means of transport and a symbol of the soul's capacity to traverse realms otherwise inaccessible. The chariot's wheels, creatures, and throne are not only cosmic realities, but archetypal powers within the psyche. Ezekiel's chariot integrates movement and stability, vision and discipline. The Platonic chariot depicts the soul's struggle to direct its impulses towards the divine. In the Bhagavad Gita, the chariot serves as a metaphor for the body, the horses as senses, the reins as the mind, and the charioteer as reason or the higher self. Chariot imagery emphasizes the dynamic, often perilous nature of mystical ascent and the need for mastery, balance, and guidance. The mountain and the tree are images of the Axis Mundi, the world's spiritual center connecting earth and heaven. In the Bible, mountains such as Sinai and Tabor are places where heaven and earth meet, where prophets ascend to receive revelation. In Buddhism, the Bodhi tree becomes the site of enlightenment, its roots and branches linking all realms. In Norse and Shamanic traditions, the cosmic tree is a ladder for shamans and gods alike. The mountain and tree are both sites of ascent and descent, growth and rootedness, linking the vertical journey of the soul with the horizontal expanse of creation. In Merkaba and Kabbalistic imagery, the palaces are the stages of ascent, each more luminous and demanding than the last. In Hindu and Buddhist Mandalas, palatial architecture maps the journey towards the divine center. The Jewish temple, Christian cathedrals, and Hindu mandirs all serve as earthly reflections of heavenly realities, inviting the worshipper to ascend inwardly even as they move outwardly. In Vajrayana Buddhism, the Mandala Palace is a visualization of the cosmos and the mind, a guide for meditative ascent. Sacred architecture, whether physical or visionary, provides both a map and a sanctuary for the journey. No ascent is undertaken alone. The presence of guides, angelic, human or animal, is a constant across traditions. In Merkaba, the aspirant is met at each palace by angels who test, protect, and instruct. In Christianity, saints and spiritual masters offer guidance and intercession. In Buddhism, the guru or lama is essential for safe passage. In shamanic traditions, animal spirits and ancestors accompany the practitioner on their journey. The guide serves both as protector and as mirror, reflecting the aspirant's strengths and weaknesses and catalyzing growth. Every architecture of ascent includes warnings. The journey is not merely a quest for personal ecstasy or power. It is fraught with danger, pride, delusion, spiritual blindness. The presence of guardians at each threshold ensures that only the prepared, the humble, and the pure of heart may proceed. Ascent is always paired with ethical transformation. The true measure of vision is its fruit: humility, compassion, justice, and service. The journey upward is also a journey inward, and the greatest obstacles often arise from within. While the symbols and structures recur across cultures, each tradition inflects them according to its own theology and ethos. The Christian ladder is climbed with Christ as mediator. The Sufi's stations are traversed in love and remembrance of the beloved. The Merkabah mystic's chariot is drawn by discipline and awe. The yogi's ascent is energized by breath, posture, and mantra. The shaman's journey is facilitated by drum, song, and trance. The architecture of ascent is thus both universal and particular, a testimony to the shared human longing for transcendence and to the endless creativity of the spirit. Let us pause to reflect on our own journey. What is the architecture of your ascent? Is it a ladder, a chariot, a mountain, or a tree? Who are your guides and guardians, internal and external? What perils must you face and what virtues must you cultivate? What is the vision that draws you onward, and what gifts will you bring back for the world? In contemplating these symbols, we discover not only the path of the mystic, but the shape of our own becoming. Experiences and transformations. At the heart of every ascent tradition lies the promise and the peril of encounter. To touch the infinite, to stand on the threshold of being and non-being. The experience is always described as ineffable, overwhelming, and transformative. It is a moment in which language fails and the self is both annihilated and reborn. Across Merkaba, Christian, Sufi, Buddhist, and other mystical literatures, there is a common refrain. What the mystic perceives cannot be reduced to ordinary speech. Ezekiel speaks of lightness as the appearance, a vision beyond the grasp of language. Paul refers to things that cannot be told, a rapture that leaves the mind astonished. The Buddha's silence on ultimate reality is a teaching by negation. The Sufi's drunkenness is a metaphor for the soul's bewilderment in the face of the beloved. This ineffability is not a failure, but a sign of authenticity, indicating that the experience is not simply a product of imagination, but an encounter with a reality that transcends the ordinary self. The effective core of ascent is awe, sometimes terror, sometimes ecstasy, always a sense of being overwhelmed by a presence that is at once intimate and infinite. In many Merkabah texts, the mystic is described as trembling, fainting, or even falling as if dead before the throne of glory. The fire and lightning of the chariot are real, the risks palpable. In Christian and Sufi accounts, mystics speak of divine marriage, spiritual intoxication, or union with the beloved. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the language is of bliss, clarity, and the dissolution of the false self. This encounter is both annihilation and fulfillment. The self is undone, but in being undone, it is made whole. The measure of a true ascent is not the vision itself, but the transformation it engenders. The greatest mystics are unanimous. To behold the divine is to be changed. New perception follows, and the world is seen with new eyes, radiant, interconnected, and suffused with meaning. The boundaries between self and other, heaven and earth, are thinned. The journey through palaces, ladders, or chakras is also a journey into the shadow. The mystic must confront fears, attachments, and wounds. Ascent is impossible without descent, without facing what is most hidden and resisted. Authentic vision leads to greater humility, gentleness, and compassion. The mystic returns from the heights not to dominate, but to serve. All genuine traditions insist that mystical experience is not an end in itself. The vision is not for private ecstasy, but for the renewal of love, justice, and service in the world. In Jewish Merkabah, the vision must lead to greater humility and ethical refinement. In Christian ascent, the measure of union with God is self-giving love. Sufi mysticism teaches that the return from annihilation in God is abiding in God, a life of compassion and mercy. In the Buddhist tradition, the Bodhisattva takes the vow to remain in the world until all beings are free. The ascent is incomplete without return. The light must be brought down the mountain, the gifts shared with the community. Mystical ascent is never without risk. The literature is filled with warnings. The dangers of the path are real. Madness, obsession, pride, delusion, and even death await the unprepared. The encounter with the infinite can shatter fragile egos, disrupt ordinary life, and tempt the seeker with fantasies of grandeur. In the Talmudic story, one who ascends and falls into heresy is said to have cut down the shoots. In Christian mysticism, the dark night of the soul is the trial of aridity and loss following ecstatic vision. Sufi teachers warn against spiritual pride or using vision for personal gain. Modern psychology recognizes spiritual emergencies, moments when mystical experience threatens mental balance. For this reason, every tradition emphasizes safeguards, preparation, guidance, humility, and the necessity of returning to ordinary life. The final stage of ascent is always return. The mystic, shaman, or yogi must re-enter the world, bringing the vision to bear on daily existence. The challenge is integration, to allow the transformation wrought by the ascent to permeate every aspect of life. Grounding practices such as prayer, ritual, service, and community anchor the experience in the real. The guidance of mentors, spiritual friends, and tradition is crucial for navigating the after effects of vision. Many mystics turn to poetry, art, teaching, or healing as ways to embody and share the fruits of their ascent. The ultimate fruit of ascent is a new world. The ordinary is suffused with glory. The mundane becomes the site of the sacred. The mystic becomes a vessel for the divine, a living chariot, a bearer of the ineffable into the finite. Let us pause to reflect. Ask yourself, what moments in your own life have been marked by awe, by the sense of something greater breaking through? What transformations have followed, and how have you been challenged to integrate their gifts? How might the fruits of ascent, humility, compassion, courage, find expression in your daily life? Modern relevance and integration in the modern world, amid rapid technological development and social change, the ancient symbols and pathways of ascent have not faded into irrelevance. Instead, they have resurfaced with new vitality, speaking to the deep spiritual hunger of our age. The chariot, the ladder, the mountain, and the tree remain potent images, offering guidance and inspiration for seekers both within and beyond traditional religious frameworks. In an age often characterized by fragmentation of meaning, community, and identity, the longing for wholeness, transcendence, and direct experience of the sacred is as powerful as ever. Modern spiritual seekers, whether rooted in a particular tradition or exploring interfaith and transpersonal horizons, turn to mystical texts and practices for nourishment. The revival of contemplative practices is widespread. Kabbalistic meditation, Christian contemplative prayer, Sufi dhikr, yogic ascent, and shamanic journeying are pursued in retreat centers, urban ashrams, and online communities. The language of ascent, purification, illumination, union, and return, shapes the vocabulary of self-realization, healing, and growth in contemporary spirituality. Science and spirit are brought into dialogue as neurotheology, psychology, and consciousness studies increasingly engage with mystical experience, exploring the brain's capacity for transcendence and the practical outcomes of contemplative practices. Modern psychology, particularly in its Jungian, transpersonal, and integrative forms, recognizes the deep value of ascent narratives. The journey through the palaces, chakras, or spheres is seen as a map of individuation, the process by which the self becomes whole through conscious engagement with both light and shadow. Jung identified ascent symbols, the ladder, tree, mountain, and chariot, as archetypes that shape the collective unconscious, mediating transformation and integration. Techniques of visualization and guided meditation echo the Merkaba's use of imagery and ritual to facilitate inner ascent and healing. Modern therapists acknowledge the reality of spiritual emergencies, moments when mystical experience disrupts ordinary life. The wisdom of traditions such as Merkabah Mysticism, with their emphasis on preparation, humility, and ethical grounding, offers valuable resources for integration and well-being. Ascent traditions play a vital role in contemporary interfaith dialogue. The recognition that Christians, Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, and indigenous peoples all share narratives of ascent and transformation fosters mutual respect, empathy, and collaboration. Shared symbols such as the chariot, ladder, steed, and tree become bridges between traditions, inviting deeper understanding and friendship. While the core longing for ascent is universal, each tradition offers unique practices, insights, and cautions. Dialogue is not about erasing difference, but celebrating and learning from it. Conferences, workshops, and online forums bring together mystics and seekers from around the world, sharing techniques, stories, and visions for a more compassionate and just world. The enduring relevance of ascent traditions lies not only in their promise of vision, but in their call to transformed living. The true test of mystical ascent is the fruit it bears in the world: greater compassion, humility, and a commitment to justice. The ascent is not escape from the world, but a return to heal, repair, and serve. The Kabbalistic principle of tikkun olam, or repairing the world, finds echoes in the Christian ideal of caritas, the Buddhist bodhisattva vow, and the Sufi commitment to mercy. The chariot's vision of an interconnected cosmos inspires ecological consciousness. The recognition that all realms are linked, that every being has its place in the great chain of being, calls us to stewardship and reverence for the earth. The symbols and stories of ascent continue to inspire the arts. From William Blake's visionary engravings and Hildegard of Bingen's illuminations to the music of Arvo Pärt and the poetry of Rumi, the chariot and its kin are reimagined in every medium. Contemporary artists, writers, and musicians use these motifs not only to evoke transcendence, but to explore the challenges of our time: alienation, suffering, hope, and renewal. For the modern seeker, the greatest challenge may be to integrate the spirit of ascent into daily life. The journey does not require withdrawal to a monastery or desert. It begins wherever we are. Every moment can be an ascent, through mindful attention, gratitude, and loving presence. Daily practices of prayer, meditation, study, and service create a rhythm of ascent and return, grounding vision in action. The support of fellow seekers, mentors, and communities provides strength and accountability for the journey. For modern readers, the chariot, ladder, and mountain are not relics of the past, but living symbols, maps for the soul's transformation. They remind us that the journey is possible, that the heights can be reached, and that every ascent is for the sake of return. The ancient wisdom of Merkabah Mysticism, refracted through the lens of contemporary life, offers hope, challenge, and guidance for all who aspire to live with greater awareness, compassion, and joy. Let us pause at the close of this exploration to reflect on the chariot as it appears in our own time. How might you undertake your own ascent? Through study, prayer, service, creativity, or presence? What practices, symbols, or communities support your journey? How might your own visions, large or small, become gifts for the world? May the chariot become for you not only a symbol of glory, but a living invitation to ascend, to return, and to serve. Conclusion. The chariot and the world. As we reach the end of our exploration, the image of the chariot remains resplendent, enigmatic, and alive. It traverses millennia and continents, carrying with it the longing of the human soul for the infinite, the courage to ascend, and the humility to return. The chariot is not merely a relic of ancient mysticism, nor only a metaphor for inner experience. It is a living symbol, a map for the journey that each of us must undertake. From the storm-swept banks of the Chebar, where Ezekiel first beheld the wheels within wheels, to the desert caves of the early Christian monks. From the night sky over Jerusalem, where the Prophet Muhammad was called to ascend, to the forests, mountains, and temples of the world's wisdom traditions, the chariot's journey is our own. The ascent is universal, the longing for union perennial, the challenge to integrate the vision into life ever present. Through all the traditions we have explored, Jewish, Christian, Islamic, Platonic, Hermetic, Hindu, Buddhist, Gnostic, and Shamanic, the same pattern recurs, a call to leave behind the familiar and safe, a journey through layers of reality and self, encounters with powers, guardians and guides, the risk of loss, madness or pride, a vision of the holy, awesome, shattering and healing, and the imperative to return, transformed, to the world. The ascent is never for the sake of vision alone. It is always for the sake of love, justice, healing, and the restoration of wholeness, both within the self and in the wider world. In our own age, the chariot's wisdom is more needed than ever. Amid noise, distraction, and fragmentation, it calls us to silence, focus, and depth. In a world torn by conflict and fear, it invites us to encounter the divine within ourselves and one another. In a time of ecological crisis, it reminds us of the interconnectedness of all things, the wheels within wheels, the creatures singing in harmony, the throne of glory at the heart of being. The ascent is not an escape, but an engagement, not withdrawal, but participation. The true mystic is not one who flees the world, but one who returns to it radiant, humble, and resolved to serve. Each of us is invited, again and again, to the journey of ascent, to rise above ignorance, fear, and division, to seek vision, wisdom, and unity, to return with gifts for the community and the earth. The chariot's path is open to all who are willing to prepare, to risk, to trust, and to love. No tradition has a monopoly on ascent. Each offers its own treasures, and all are enriched by dialogue, mutual respect, and shared longing. Let us close with a meditation. Imagine the chariot, not only as Ezekiel saw it, but as it moves through your own life. See its wheels turning in moments of insight, courage, and compassion. Hear the song of its creatures in every act of beauty, truth, and kindness. Feel the fire of its presence in your longing for meaning, connection, and peace. May you be granted the discipline to prepare, the humility to ascend, the courage to behold, and the strength to return. May the chariot bear you through the storms and into the light. May your journey be a blessing to yourself, your community, and the world. May the ancient wisdom of ascent, of chariot, ladder, mountain, and tree, illumine your way. May you find guides and companions, strength for the trials, and joy in the vision. May you return from the heights with gifts of love, healing, and hope. And may the glory you glimpse, however fleeting, shine forth in all you do. The journey continues. The chariot awaits. Go forth in peace, in light, and in service. If you have found inspiration or insight in this journey through Merkabah mysticism and the great traditions of Ascent, we invite you to continue seeking the inner light with us. Don't forget to subscribe to Inner Light, Esoteric Wisdom for the Soul's Ascent, for more explorations of hidden teachings, and to share this offering with fellow seekers on the path.